The budget speech of last evening provided an update on the government of Barbados' plans with respect to the management of the fiscal and socio-economic space in which we all operate. More importantly, it identified a target year, 2025, by which the current and planned programs being put in place should fully position Barbados for its next quantum leap. However, for us all to get there, the Prime Minister has urged us to stay the course. On June 11th last year, the Prime Minister went to Parliament and within the first 5 paragraphs of her mini-budget speech identified the difficult road ahead for the country in which we live. At that time, she referenced a report prepared by the visiting team of the International Monetary Fund, which read, and I quote, "Barbados is in a precarious economic situation. International reserves has dwindled to US dollars 220 million, while central government debt is unsustainable. The fiscal deficit decreased over the last few years but remains large, at about 4% of GDP in financial year 2017-2018. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Barbados is reporting a contraction of about 0.7% in the first quarter of 2018 over the same period for the prior year." End quote. The unstated issue here was that national confidence in the economy was also waning, with failed government recovery, increasing taxation across the board, and general dissatisfaction with the handling of the economic affairs of the country. The Prime Minister then outlined her path of recovery of the nation, which was likened to a sick patient, and summarized in her words, as to first stop the hemorrhaging, which prioritized getting our foreign reserves on stable footing, secondly, to stabilize the economy, and ultimately move towards growth measures. Now fast forward to yesterday. The reading of the first budget by the new administration. The Prime Minister outlined the progress made, IMF approval of the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan, local debt restructuring complete, a budget surplus at the end of December 2018, and the other factors affecting how we grow, Brexit, the OECD and European pressures on our global business partners, for example, and indeed her administration's plan as to how the country will return to the path of prosperity by 2025. In her words, outlining where we are along the arc of stabilization, growth, and transformation. The stabilization of the economy was highlighted in her comments as it was related to the threat of the peg exchange rate by the dwindling foreign reserves, which have been restored to 1.1 billion, or 15 weeks of import cover, achievement of a primary surplus of 428 million, which was well in excess of the target of 3.3% of GDP for the fiscal year 2018-2019, the conclusion of the local debt restructuring program, moving the debt level from over 170% of GDP to 125% of GDP in little under 10 months. In support of this, in February 2019, upon conclusion of the IMF staff visit to Barbados, the team led by Dr. Bert Van Selm reported that Barbados continues to make good progress in implementing its ambitious and comprehensive economic reform program. All indicative targets for the end of December under the EFF have been met. The program target for the net international reserves was met by a wide margin, as was the target of the Central Bank of Barbados, net domestic assets. The target for the primary surplus for end December 2018 was also met by a wide margin. Good progress has been made in implementing end December 2018 structural benchmarks under the EFF. 2 key pieces of legislation, the Public Financial Management Act and the Town and Country Planning Act, were adopted in early 2019. Preparation of the budget for 2019-2020, targeting a primary surplus of 6% of GDP, is well underway. Full effects of reform set in motion during the current 2018-2019 fiscal year, including the introduction of several new taxes and ongoing streamlining of the public sector workforce as state-owned enterprises, should help achieve this target." End quote. To my mind, therefore, the budget of last evening, in addition to the clearly articulated goals of the Prime Minister, sought to encourage confidence in the people of Barbados to stay the course, confidence in investors on the outlook of the economy, and certainly full stakeholder confidence as we continue on this journey to take Barbados back to its rightful place as gem of the Caribbean Sea. How do we achieve this? The declaration of the Prime Minister that we cannot cut our way to growth is welcomed by the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as it is our position that for growth to occur in any meaningful and sustainable way, businesses and consumers alike must, at the end of the day, have increased cash in hand to fuel the recovery. This, we acknowledge, must be balanced by fair, efficient, reliable, and consistent indirect tax collection, such that the wheel continues to turn. There must be a sense that it is safe to do business in Barbados from a regulatory, fiscal, and socio-economic standpoint. We therefore welcome the comments of the Prime Minister as it relates to her Vision 2025, which includes, but is not limited to, the restoration of pride in an industry as a national value, the improvements in the education system, encouragement of innovative industries, well-equipped, well-staffed healthcare facilities, improvements in line with international standards of population density management. The specifics of the above, I am sure, augurs to what will be a multi-year journey, ought to be shared such that we can objectively measure our progress. Rome was not built in a day, and surely Barbados' economic recovery will not be fairly achieved by the waving of a wand. We remain pleased with the swift and decisive actions to recovery, but caution that while the enemy of progress is perfection, sometimes haste can make waste. We must continue to ensure that the consultations of the social partnership remain active and integral parts of this recovery program. Indeed, we are somewhat satisfied that the Prime Minister has reached out in the preparation of the budget through the social partnership and others to understand the needs of labour and capital and sought to provide some measure of balance to the combined needs. The efficiencies brought to bear on renegotiation of contractual relationships entered by the government have also been recognised in creating additional fiscal space. The establishment of the College of Negotiators, then, is a welcome initiative which should, once it comes to fruition, allow the sustained, efficient placement of funds for goods and services, which we all know has been problematic over the years. In the same vein, we urge the government to continue its efforts to continue the rollout of the much-talked-about electronic single payment window, such that the ease of doing business with the government of Barbados' many departments is significantly reduced. Indeed, the Prime Minister acknowledged that the country will only succeed if we can do in 3 days what it currently takes to do in 3 months. In the Chamber, we see the revitalization of Bridgetown as a key initiative in the national development of Barbados. Problematic in the realization of this goal has been the matter of security. Poor lighting and now the issue of crime has placed a damper on this initiative. Indeed, commercial throughput in Bridgetown has been down for some time, placing the merchants in this locality under pressure. To this end, we welcome the attention of the Prime Minister to gun crime in the country and the proper equipping of the police and security forces to adequately respond to what is a growing problem here. In the same vein, the improvements in port security, such as the purchase of new scanners, improved CCTV, and the implementation of a K9 unit in the Bridgetown port, augur for confidence in the transactions with the Bridgetown port. We acknowledge that the Bridgetown port serves key roles in the support of key industries such as cruise tourism and trade. Any amendments to the operations of the Bridgetown port, therefore, must be done such as to not negatively impact or disrupt the operations of either industry. Indeed, the management of the cost structure of this facility and follow-on impact on the transshipment industry and the cost of items reaching our shelves needs to be properly vetted and managed. We are pleased, therefore, that the Prime Minister has in her budget spoken to the need to ensure that with respect to the port, that all needs to be done to realize the security goal in a manner which does not disrupt the flow of trade, but improves on competitiveness and revenues. Related to the above, to buttress the improvement in trade, it is critically important that the country move from the Asakuda Plus Plus system to the Asakuda World Platform. Such a move will, as has been seen in Belize and other CARICOM nations, improve on revenues when coupled with a true risk-based approach for inspections, improve on throughput through the Bridgetown port, and reduce transaction costs. These reduced transaction costs provide the opportunity for reduced costs to the end consumer. We are pleased, therefore, that the process to implementation of the Asakuda World Platform has been commenced and should be completed within the next 3 months. Similarly, with respect to the Grantley Adams International Airport, we welcome the planned improvements to this facility in the interest of national development. If Barbados is to leverage improvements to its people, commerce, and national infrastructure, it is essential that access to them must be improved by modern, well-functioning, and well-run ports of entry. We welcome the negotiations with LIAT and ask that the country be kept informed of the outcome of the ongoing discussions in the same vein. Over the last 2 years in particular, The international business sector in Barbados has been faced with a myriad of challenges from the OECD and more recently from the European Union. We support the actions of the current administration to engage in targeted lobbying and dialogue with the agencies in a consistent and confident manner. Given the importance of the international business sector to the Barbadian economy, we urge the government to continue its push to amicably resolve the current blacklist issues as soon as possible. With respect to the matter of climate change, the Prime Minister has mentioned some risk mitigating measures being put in place, such as the Roof to Reefs program, the inclusion of the natural disaster clauses in bond agreements, and so forth. I would, however, suggest that the Prime Minister look urgently at the data collection and collation of primary data sets important to understanding the impact of climate change on this island, so that we are better positioned from a local position to understand the immediate issues facing us, both on water and on land, and make targeted decisions to mitigate the risks on a priority basis, given the limited access to capital. Ladies and gentlemen, the specifics as the above measures are required from central government so as to determine how best we can support their efforts in everyone's interest. The recognition by the government that we need to kickstart consumer spending and corporate investment is timely. The moves on the issuance of personal income tax refunds owed through 2011 from 2011 through 2016 from July 1st are welcomed. This injection of cash into the economy is sure to provide some welcome relief to consumers who have hitherto endured increased taxation and other inflationary type concerns, thus improving consumer confidence. In addition, the moves on VAT refunds are likely to be well received, as these too would improve the confidence of commercial interests in the taxation system on island. At the Chamber, we expressed some concern that a number of the capital projects for the long-run growth required to sustain the recovery efforts were delayed. We are extremely pleased, therefore, that in addition to the start of key capital projects, such as the Sagicor Retirement Village, the Hyatt Sam Lawrence Castle, the Old Caribbean Hotel property, refurbishment of the Blue Horizon Hotel, Kuman's retail, hardware, and so on, that the government has chosen to look at growth through its people with the establishment of the National Training Initiative and First Jobs Initiative as well. Further, this holistic approach to long-term growth encompasses the use and integration of technology in paying government services, customs, for example, while commencing the digitization of several government departments. These actions speak to a recognition for efficiency in operations with the government of Barbados. In addition, the moves afoot to improve the operations at CAIPO are indeed welcome, as these two provide some frustration to investors, foreign and local alike, in making Barbados a home for their investments. Key to these developments must be the sustainability and the need for urgent improvement in the health of Barbadians. The moves, therefore, to address national wellness through dietary controls are welcomed. However, we propose that data available be properly shared so that all are properly on board with the initiatives developed on a national level. The structure of the proposed medical cannabis industry as envisioned does provide alternate opportunities for many Barbadians, and as it relates to the impact on health and wellness in Barbados, the Chamber welcomes additional discussion with the government in this regard. Investment opportunities in Barbados have been difficult, in so much that Barbadians are traditionally conservative investors. New, relevant investment vehicles need to be put forward, which allow us to reap the benefits of investment. We therefore welcome the new vehicles being proposed, the green energy bonds, for example, which seek to tap into the $9 billion sitting in commercial banks locally. We welcome the proposed investments in the indirect tax administration and the addition of the tax credit systems from two key perspectives. Firstly, it assists in understanding our tax base by encouraging more persons who may be missed to file to receive the credit. And secondly, the obvious improvement of cash circulating in the economy will allow greater opportunity for trade and hence get the economy to begin moving, whilst improving the VAT receipts will help to fund or fuel the continued growth. We've continually asked that the government broaden the base for tax collection, reducing the burden on a few and providing the impetus for increasing the VAT rate. We therefore welcome the government's push to broaden the base through the removal of the zero rating on some items. We, however, caution that the social impact of this move should be monitored to ensure that the vulnerable in society are at no time inconvenienced as a result. Increased property taxes are surely to be a burden. However, I believe They would have been increased. Sorry, let me just repeat that. Increased property taxes are surely to be a burden. However, I believe thinking here would have been increased disposable income would allow for this to be managed within the scope of the increases. The increase in water for commercial interests, as we understand it, will be managed in addition to the reduction to the GSL. However, we ask that the government look at this with respect to some of the construction companies who would have faced increases in their quarry operations as a result of the hikes in fuel and water costs. This may have unforeseen consequences, therefore, in the cost of construction, which, further to the increased need for capital development, may be slowed somewhat as persons try to access increased capital. The increase in bus fares is understood. However, we suggest that this be delayed to perhaps September to allow some of the disposable income increases to offset the increase. Overall, we appreciate that the Prime Minister and her administration has sought to place some cash into the economy to spur growth. This is surely appreciated. However, the missing components here are the data to support the initiatives and secondly, the specifics. These are required for tracking and understanding of our progress. Investors today are data hungry, and unfortunately the current business climate makes access to good timely data locally extremely difficult. This aspect of macroeconomic policy needs to be tightened so as to improve market response. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that where we are, it's been said that the budget did not provide as much disposable income as could have possibly been done. But I think locally, everyone needs to recognize where we are realistically. And I think the efforts by the government to provide disposable income into the economy are significant. However, at the end of the day, we truly have to check where we are and see, as the Prime Minister said, how best can we stay the course. And with this, I thank you.